Microsystems for having us today. We're looking forward to showing you everything that Autodesk BIM 360 Docs solution has to offer. My name is Brandon LaCourcier, and I'm a technical sales manager with our construction teams. I also want to introduce Sean Butler, who's here with us from our sales and channel readiness group. So thank you very much for being here as well, Sean. We're going to get right into the presentation and talk exactly about how this tool works and how it operates. But first and foremost, I want to talk about a question that we get quite often. Obviously, what is BIM 360 Docs? And it's a great question because there has been some confusion around what it is and how it operates. I'm going to start by addressing that right out of the gate. First, we want to talk a little bit about something we've discovered in conversations we've been having with our customers. Recently, when we were on a presentation, we talked a lot about the products that are being used by our customers on a daily basis, from start to finish on a project, all the way from schematic design to owner handoff. And what we found is that most of our customers are really using hundreds of applications throughout their day-to-day workflows. In fact, as they move from phase to phase, in most instances, they're even having to change the formatting of how these items work. The bigger concern wasn't in the way that the data moved from program to program. It was really in how we consumed this information on a daily basis. In fact, in our notes, when we were just doing basic notations, we were noticing that design teams and construction teams and operation teams were in many cases working entirely in silos. Furthermore, what we were finding is that sometimes as information moved from our design teams into our construction teams, by the time the final information was published, it was already sometimes out of date in relationship to design changes and redline markups that had been made. We also found that this revision history that was going on throughout our projects was incredibly time-consuming. And not only did it span from obviously our designers into our general contractors, but then when the general contracting community wanted to move it into operations. So for us, we really needed to understand how do we take all of this information that's being consumed and really centralize it in a place that makes sense. So we asked our customers, how do you do it today? And like many of us, when something's not working with our tech, we get an app for it. The problem is that a lot of these apps provide great things like cloud storage and file sharing and markups and red lines and issue creation and all of these different things. The problem is that a lot of times the communication is siloed. So as things change, as versioning occurs, as updates occur, whatever the case may be, as these things happen, our customers are struggling with keeping that data in sync. We sort of asked the question and talked to our customers heavily about this. What if we could take all of that information, centralize it in one location, and allow for the versioning control to happen automatically? So basically, as an architect promotes a design change, as we submit a change order request, or as an owner asks us to value substitute a specific item in their build, what if that information occurred in real time, but at the same component tracked each one of those versioning controls? While many of our customers were happy with that and loved the idea of having that single source component, it wasn't just about having versioning control. It was about being able to publish that information, share it with their users, provide visibility, and also generate markup control. And for many of you, each one of these bubbles probably represents a different product, sometimes a competitor. In many instances, it's existing workflows using Word or Excel. Sometimes it's Bluebeam, sometimes it's PlanGrid, sometimes it's lots of applications. We wanted to come up with a solution that centralized it in one place while also providing you with all of this functionality. And that is exactly what BIM 360 Docs is. It is a single source of versioning control that allows you to do everything from view your documentation, mark it up, and share it with those that it's most important to. Now, I could go through 100 more slides showing you every pick and click that's built into the product, but I'd rather just go ahead and open the tool for you. What I'm going to do is I'm not only going to open this product, I'm also going to work directly with Sean as we go through this project. So Sean, are you able to see my BIM 360 Docs page up and running?
Brandon, I'm there and I can see you live.
Great. So Sean and I are going to work in tandem here, and part of the value here is I want you guys to see in real time how as Sean makes changes to the documents, I'm able to interact with those. Before we do that, I just want to talk briefly about the interface. When we go into our BIM 360 Docs portal, you'll notice that right now I'm actually in a web browser. Now the web browser is great because it's just going to basically allow me to do everything that I would need to do from whatever machine's in front of me. Now this is critically important because obviously it's great if we always have our laptop in front of us or our desktop computer. But a lot of times we need to be able to make these changes whether we're at home, out on a job site, at a hotel, on a business conference, whatever the case may be. It's important that we have that flexibility to control the documents where it makes the most sense for us. In addition to that, what you're also going to notice is that inside of this browser, I'm going to be able to get real-time updates as the models actually update on screen. The first thing I'm going to point to is over here on the left-hand side, you're going to notice a couple of panes. I'm going to start with our Plans tab. And you'll notice when I select Plans, it's actually going to load all of the documentation that's currently available inside of our project. Now, each one of these documents is actually a live workable sheet, and we'll access that in just a second. But what I also want you to notice is the file that they came from. You'll notice over here on the right-hand side, it actually says .rvt. The reason this is important is because we didn't have to ask the architect or our engineer to upload a PDF that they've printed. All we've asked them to do is save their Revit model. By saving their Revit model inside of Docs for us, we're able to access all of those sheets automatically. It'll actually extract that information for us. So when we ask for an update from our project teams, no longer are we asking them to go through the tedious process of updating all of their sheets and tracking all of their information and publishing. All we're asking them to do is save to this published folder. In addition to that, every time they're saving that Revit model up here for us, it's actually automatically version controlling changes that have occurred in the project. So actually seeing in real time each one of these versions adjust. And I want you to notice as we're going through this that right now we're currently at version 2. So that might change as we're going through the project. Over on the right-hand side, you'll also notice that there's some additional tabs, like for instance, the number or title for our specific sheet. The thing I like to point out is that we also have the ability to customize the way that this is displayed. So if I wanted to add additional attributes for my users, like for instance, if I wanted to add a phase specific to the project, I can do things like, for instance, phase, and then specify drop-down lists. So as an example, I could say, CD, add, I can add any number of values that I want inside of these specific projects. It doesn't matter. Let's do value 1 as an example. I'll do value 2 as well. Hit add. So you'll notice just by doing that, I'm now having our phase option, and you'll notice in my drop-down list, I can actually pick through those different values. This is great as we're trying to sort of customize the look and feel of the way we want our documentation set up. Now, in addition to being able to view real-time plans, we can also store any type of project file that we want over in our project folder sections. Now, by selecting, for instance, the small medical center right here, I can expand out to additional folders, like for instance, our design documents or our construction documents. Now, what's really important about our folders isn't just the ability to create new ones, but it's the ability to actually manage them once they've been created. So as an example, I'm going to go ahead and add a quick subfolder, and I'm going to just very quickly say, we'll just say O and M. So we've got our owner and operator information. Now let's say as an example, we wanted this folder structure to only be accessible to certain users. One of the benefits that I have as an admin is I can simply select that here, and I can actually change the permissions of this folder. The benefit of being able to change not only by folder, but by document, is that I can be very restrictive or very access-friendly based on what information I want my users to have. Now, once I find, for instance, someone that I want to include, I'll go ahead and add Deb to this project. I can select Deb, and then I can specify what level of privilege I want her to have inside of this folder structure. So in this case, maybe I just want, Deb as the owner to be able to publish in view. I don't want her to go ahead and make adaptations or adjust information. I'll hit add, and once I do that, Deb's actually going to get a notification both in her docs and in her email that lets her know that she now has access to this additional information. Now let's get into the meat of how this product works. I'm going to go back to my plan section, and I'm going to cycle into the actual folder that we were looking at. there's lots of products in the market today that allow us to do things like, for instance, view a PDF, which BIM 360 Docs is more than capable of doing. In fact, our BIM 360 Docs tool, much like a lot of the other products you've seen out there on market, is going to allow us to analyze those PDFs and use OCR recognition to actually hyperlink title blocks and other things that a lot of the other common PDF viewers allow us to do. But Docs does something a lot more important than just being able to view that PDF documentation. As an example, I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these sheets. You'll notice when I open these sheets that over at the bottom right-hand corner, I actually have what's called Sheet View. And this allows me to instantly look at all of the sheets that are currently available inside this project. Now, in addition to that, you'll also notice that inside of my actual display, I've got some just basic tabs here. Things like, for instance, panning or zooming. I also can use my basic mouse commands to do these sorts of features. Nothing all that fantastic. However, if I start selecting on content, if I start selecting on components, you'll actually notice that this information is real-time linked inside of our project. Now, the value here is that not only are we able to select this information, but we're able to view their properties. So as an example, if I'm just looking at generic sheet information, I can view things like, for instance, project number, organization, building name, but I also can drill in and get into specific components that I want to gain information on. In addition to being able to access the properties views and properties displays, I also have the ability to do things like, for instance, generate issues or create markups. As an example, if I were to go ahead and select that I want to add a markup, I could very quickly go ahead and select my cloud bubble tool, specify the location where I want the markup to occur, add some basic text, please review, and select done. Now, every single comment that I make, every single object that I adjust, you're going to notice that it automatically versions out every single one of those comments. It's also taking an active archive of all history that's happened inside of this specific sheet. So as an example, this sheet's been updated twice, and you'll notice that Sean Butler on my team was able to make those updates. This is just a great way for me to be able to quickly make adaptations and adjustments while also track things like, for instance, redline markups. Now, in addition to being able to flip through sheets down on our bottom pane where we can view full sheets, I also can just simply select Next Document. And as I pick through each one of these documents, I'm able to view them independently or holistically as a group. Now, in addition to being able to edit our sheets, I'm going to go ahead and back up. I'm going to look at my 3D model. So not only does this software allow us to access our 3D sheets, or our 2D sheets, but it's also going to give us access to all of the important information if it was done in a 3D model sense. So as an example, I can rotate around, and again, I can select on components and view all of their attributes and properties in real time. So I'm not just giving my staff the ability to access PDFs, mark them up, and create issues. I'm also extending the ability for them to access the actual components that were placed. So if I need to know what type of window is in place, or I need to understand, for instance, additional data about a project, I can simply select those items, and in some instances, even access the manufacturer's URL. Actually, notice that there's a URL listed here. I could select that and have it take me directly to the project. Now, some of you may have noticed, actually, just a second ago, there was a little publish icon that popped up here. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But I also want to highlight one additional item here. For those people that are very familiar with BIM, you'll know that a lot of the advantages that products like Revit or some of our advanced AutoCAD platforms provide aren't just in building 3D models. In fact, there's a lot of companies out there today that don't even care about the 3D. It's the 2D and the information behind those models that's most important. And one of the advantages that Docs provides is the ability for you to browse the model by exact content that is present in it. So as an example, if you were just simply looking for structural components, you could select on these items and have it automatically isolate those objects for you. Things like, for instance, casework, ceilings, generic modeling, windows, doors, you name it. As I go through these components, I can begin to isolate those specific objects and, again, access their properties. So in addition to being able to have access to both the 2D and 3D models, I'm also going to be able to have that instant versioning control. So one of the things that just happened is as I was working in real time, messing around, doing markups, Sean went ahead and updated the Revit model. So notice that I now have an updated model, version 3 of this model. And as I'm working on these items, I'm going to be able to see things like, for instance, markups that Sean or others might be using. So as an example, you'll notice when I go to thumbnail view, I can actually see when other people have created markups. In fact, if I notice on this sheet right here, A101 lower level, someone's gone ahead and created a markup here. So if I select on A101 lower level, I'll see the markup that Sean just added. And if I go over here and to look into markups views, I can actually see Sean Butler, check security system in the room. So you're seeing real-time coordination, even though I'm doing a demonstration for you and Sean's in the back end actually working on the project. Now, as a 2D deliverable and as a web-based browser, this is really helpful to many of our users. We're seeing a lot of early success and people taking advantage of this product. Now, in addition to being able to use this tool on a day-to-day basis, what we also find is that a lot of users want to take advantage of it in a mobile capacity. So I'm going to pull open my mobile browser here just for a second so we can actually view this on my iPad. And I'm going to pull open my iPad screen so you guys can actually see exactly what I see on my device. And Sean, can you just verify that you can see my iPad for me?
Yes, sir. We can see it clearly.
Very good. So as I'm working inside my iPad, you'll notice that I can also at the same time go ahead and view through any of the sheets that are currently active. So as an example, if I wanted to go ahead and select our ground floor view, I could just simply select that sheet. And in the same way that my web browser allowed me to gain access to all of those all that great information that you saw in the web browser, I can view that right here on my iPad as well. You'll notice that I can also see that Sean's gone ahead and created some additional markups. If I wanted, I could also very quickly select this little triangular hashtag down there on the bottom left-hand corner. And let's say, as an example, there was an issue that I had found when I went out to check the wall type that Sean was just referencing right here. If I simply select right on that item, I can very quickly go ahead and create a new issue. So as an example, let's say he wanted me to check the X-ray wall on this specific item. Notice that the software automatically looks for the location of this issue. So it's noticing it's on A102 ground floor. I could go ahead and tap an additional title. I can say reviewing redline. And I could go ahead and specify who I want to work on it. So these are just some additional users that are currently active in our project. I'll go ahead and select Sean just because I want him to take a look at it. And I'll tell Sean that I need this resolved by tomorrow. Give him a nice deadline. Now, because I'm just basically working on this right now, I'm not quite sure if I want to publish this. I can do additional things like, for instance, describe the issue, need you to resolve. Need to resolve. Just putting some basic comments in here. Done. And I could add additional location information. So if I felt like A102 wasn't enough, I could actually enter in if I wanted the room number in the specific case. Now, if I was leveraging our entire BIM 360 portfolio, there are some other advantages that I would have in actually being able to specify that specific room location. But in this case, we're just using sort of the bare bones features that are available to us. Now, in addition to this, I can go at the bottom and I can specify that I want this to be an open issue. It's going to change the color of this specific item, and it's going to let Sean know in his specific instance of BIM 360 Docs that he has an issue he's now responsible for resolving. Now, in addition to that, I also can do all of the other things that we saw, like, for instance, view each markup independently. And as I'm looking at these markups, I can actually interact with them if I want to. Now I'm going to go ahead and reduce that screen out. Notice as I zoom, very great zoom clarity. I'm not getting any limitations on this. And if I want, I can also switch sheet to sheet very quickly in the iPad by just using these dongles in the bottom right-hand corner. It's worth noting that I'm doing this both through a a reflector system and them doing it through a GoToMeeting screencast. One of the question marks we get a lot around latency as we move from sheet to sheet is does it take forever for the next sheet to populate? Notice that I'm able to very quickly move from each one of these sheets and have them populate on screen real time. So no real limitations from that from a sheet to sheet perspective. Now, in addition to being able to view the sheets, I also can view all of my files. So I have the ability to view files in here as well. So any of those folders that we had previously looked at, I can access here as well. This means if I want to create photography, if I want to capture images while I'm not on site, I can do this very easily by just, again, snapping a quick photograph and even going as far as to tag that to a specific issue. So a lot of benefits as I work through the project. Now again, I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not showing features or functionality that go far and away beyond probably what you're seeing in a lot of the other tools that are out there today. But what I am providing you that no other application out today can provide is I'm providing real-time access to the models, the CAD files, the Tekla data, that you name it, that your either engineers, subcontractors, or designers are using and developing. I'm allowing that information to sit in its native format directly in this process. So no longer do you have to go through the tedious process of publishing out everything. You can simply load these Revit models, load these AutoCAD or advanced steel files, and have that information present in real time. So you can do things like basic rotation, again, select properties, and access that data. Now, what I also want to show you is sort of not just where we are, but some of the things that we're working towards. And the reason I want to do this is because for the first time in really as long as I can remember my time here at Autodesk is that we're not just building a program that satisfies an issue today. We're building a program that we think solves a problem that many people have suffered through. And that's trying to explain that in most instances our 2D and 3D information are one and the same. So one of the things that's always frustrated a lot of us at Autodesk, and I think maybe in our customer base as well, is that when we talk about BIM, the concept is always, well, we don't do 3D modeling. The root of BIM isn't really 3D models. It's the alignment that 3D data and model objects have with 2D information. And I want you to see kind of what this application we're working on allows us to do. Because the information is available in both 2D and 3D, when I select on staircases, I'm not just selecting the 2D component, I'm selecting its 3D counterpart. And because our product is so immersive, and it allows you to not only select these objects, but find where it's referenceable, I can do things like, for instance, isolate all of that great content I was showing you just a moment ago, like as an example, selecting duct fittings or duct runs, and having it not only isolate that object in 3D, but also isolate it in 2D. So I'm using this sort of diagrammatic display for you to see this, but again, if you remember what I showed in that web-based app, where I was able to very quickly go ahead and isolate by the model categories, I'm providing that level of influence to those people that are both in the field and those people that are working in a web browser. What I'm also doing is I'm allowing us to not only select these objects and have them referenceable in our 2D and 3D display, but I'm allowing the software to actually show me other views where these objects are referenceable. So as an example, by simply selecting the staircase in my 2D, seeing it present in 3D, I can find it in all my other sheets. So I'm round tripping the interaction between all of these different products. I'm going to cycle back into our actual product. One of the things that you may have noticed, I'm not actually able to take questions via live, but I am able to take them through polling. Sean, I'm curious if any questions have come in specific to the product at this point.
Right now, the question we have standing is, who has access to see markups?
That's a great question. So if you actually look in your folder settings, you'll notice that there are basically 4 levels of permission. There's what we call publish, publish plus view, publish, view, and edit, publish, view, edit, and control. And I'll just explain these briefly because I think it's somewhat valuable. When you think about what Docs is, it's not just a document management tool for a singular company. It's a document management tool for an entire project. So if we want someone to publish their bids, but not as an example go through all of our working documentation, we're going to give them the ability to just simply publish to BIM 360 Docs. This gives them a basic URL, and they can just go ahead and upload information, much the way you probably do with things like Dropbox or Box. From there, we have what's called Publish and View. Publish and View, again, it's going to give them all that ability with Publish, but it's also going to give them all the flexibility of being able to view each of those sheets as long as they have access to those specific folders. So again, they only get Publish and View for folders that you've given them that access. Publish, View, and Edit is going to give them that ability to not only do the other subsequent Publish and View, but also the ability to do redline markups. So that way we have the ability to go ahead and edit that information, add notations, and provide all of our users with that immersive feedback. And then finally, Publish, Edit, and Control gives us all the advanced features that you see Sean actually has in here. You'll notice when I created that O&M folder, it automatically added Sean because Sean is the project admin in this case. I'm hoping that that goes ahead and addresses that question. Others that may have popped in, Sean?
Sure, we have one other question that's in right now. Does the data live only in the cloud, or can it be automatically downloaded or synced to either a local PC or server?
That's a great question. So when we look at the functionality we're looking for, when documents get loaded up into BIM 360 Docs, we want them to be entirely present in the cloud. However, we are allowing for native file pathing that's going to allow you to, at some point, take that data and put it in locations where you want it for things like, for instance, archival backups and information for a later time. The big thing that we're not allowing you to do in most instances is be a non-control user. So as an example, if you had just publish, view, and edit, and be able to extract that information down to your working machine. And there's a reason for that, right? If we own the data and we want to provide access to view it, we want a safe and secure location where we don't have to worry about people downloading all of our information. So if you don't have that control permission, you're not going to have that flexibility of being able to take the data down. We want that to sit up in the actual cloud and be an archive of all of our active history as it stands. Good question. Hopefully that answers that.
And right now there's no other
Sean?
questions. Right now there's no.
Sean, I'd be curious. Sean, I'd be curious because I've gone over quite a bit here, but obviously you know the product very well. Any items that you want to hit on with some of the remaining time here? Anything else that you're looking at as an item we should definitely cover or review?
Brendan, I think you hit everything that's in there that's special right now. So I think you gave them a full plate. Great.
I want to go over one other thing for you, just so you guys can see that there's more to this product than just what meets the eye here. There is a platform on the back end of this, so it's not just BIM 360 Docs. It's all of the other tools that are available to us inside of the software. So as an example, when we look through this process, and I apologize, someone's seeing this here, it's not just the ability to go ahead and view this information in this singular project, but also the ability to view multiple projects within our entire BIM 360 platform. So in the top left-hand corner here, you'll notice that I can actually hit a drop-down that allows me to select through multiple projects that I have. So at any given time, I could very quickly switch to other projects that I may want to take a look at or examine. By simply selecting those, all of the plans and documentation specific to those projects will load. Another question that people commonly have, well, not every single one of our job sites allows for us to have, obviously, Wi-Fi connections with our iPads. One thing that's nice with our mobile platform is that you can actually download the information native to your iPad, so you can take it outside of the field even if you're not available to access that a Wi-Fi connection as an example. You'll also have the ability to manage not only a specific project, but your entire account. So using what we call BIM 360 HQ, we can actually monitor our entire project. And not just the singular projects, but all of the current projects that we have active. So I can view things like, for instance, all of my project types, members that are currently involved. I can view by company. So I can really drill into all of the analytics specific to our entire project. Now, just to give us just a little bit more time to answer any additional questions that we might have, I'm going to do a quick recap, and then just let everyone know how they can gain access to this tool in the short term. As a recap, just to go over again the quick functionality discussion that we have here. Again, we are making sure that we're able to publish this data in a uniform way that allows for a single repository. And again, we can not only publish our Revit models, but also PDFs. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. PDF information can also be published, and we can use things like OCR text recognition to go ahead and look at title blocks. We also can view those as individual sheets. We're allowing us to do document registry and specify access control, but I think most importantly, we're making sure that we can do versioning, right? We're making sure that we can actually go ahead and version out each one of these specific sheets. When we're viewing, not only are we accessing it in the web browser and our mobile view, we're also viewing that in both its sheet form, 2D, as well as in 3D. Critically important to remember, when we save those Revit models, right, it does the hard work for us. It automatically extracts the sheet. For those of you that use Revit and have ever accidentally tried to print a PDF and you printed one sheet after another, and you've got 600 PDFs to view, this eliminates that. You don't have to make sure you check that Combine All button anymore. By just simply saving that Revit file inside of this folder repository, we gain access to all those sheets, all the properties, and all of those objects. Finally, markups. When we use our markup tool, just like a lot of tools that are out there, we're allowed to actually put all of our 2D, 3D redline markups both in our mobile and web-based platform. We can manage issues specific to those markups or separate from them. And most importantly, we can run reports. So we see, as you saw on that web browser just a second ago, we can see where we're at in the completion of those files and editing those reports and modifying any of those issues that we've worked on. And finally, just so everyone sees this, it's built on a platform. So when we look at what BIM 360 is holistically, Docs allows us to bridge both from the design community all the way to handing it over to the owner. But there's lots of other tools that fit underneath each one of the headers that you see above. If you have any questions, and I'll stop here for just a second, but if you have any questions specific to both the Docs platform that I'm showing here or any of these secondary tools just below, please reach out to your sales rep staff, reach out directly to Cadd Microsystems. They're able to both support you in answering these questions, but also gain access to any of our industry or subject matter experts here at Autodesk to make sure you're getting what you need to make the right decisions and next steps. Now, Sean, have any other questions come in? I just want to make sure I'm great. So how do you take advantage of this? How do you use it? Very quickly, today Autodesk's offering a 30-day free trial, and we're actually encouraging everyone to go on here and test the solution. Cadd Microsystems was nice enough to actually provide a link. I think many of you have actually received this link that gives you ability to very quickly sign up and go ahead and do a Docs free trial demonstration. To help you in doing that, we've recorded this presentation, and I've been very instructional as we've gone through this, just to make sure that at the conclusion you can actually use this video as sort of a quick setup guide to help you in configuring your trial site. If you have any questions that come up after this, if there's anything you want immediate contact in, you can email events@caddmicrosystems.com, and Cadd Microsystems team will very quickly get in touch with you and provide access to whoever's needed to go ahead and support that question. I want to start by just saying thank you very much for this opportunity to present to everyone on the call. We are very appreciative anytime we get an opportunity to talk to our customer base. But I would ask, if I can, just for a call to action, please test this tool, use it, take advantage of it, open it. We're trying to really build something here that makes a lot of sense for both the industry and that solves the problems you're facing on a daily basis. And if we get enough people accessing this and using it, we're going to be able to not only address those solutions, but really provide a sustainable product that's going to provide, I think, a lot of advanced functionality that many of our customers have been asking for. Again, my name is Brandon LaCourcier. I really appreciate this time. On behalf of Sean, Autodesk, and I, thank you very much. And thank you, Cadd Microsystems. I'll hand it over to you if you have any additional comments that you want to make. I think we're good. Thank you very much. Thank you.